right, aloha and welcome to Own the Outcome podcast. My name is Tyler Devereaux, and today we have Cam Cathcart.
Excited to be here.
Right here, live in office.
Yes.
Thanks for being here, bro.
Dude, I am pumped to be here, and it worked out great. I didn't have to travel at all.
Yeah.
Found out that we were neighbors
Yep.
for the most part, so I'm excited to be here, man.
I know, me too, bro. I don't get to do a ton of live in office ones.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just way better than virtual.
Oh, for sure it is.
Yeah.
For sure.
So if you guys don't know Cam, first off, go follow him. We'll have all of his links and everything in the show notes. But tons of value, I already know. Talking to him off camera and knowing a little bit about his journey, tons of value here. So I want to kind of lead in with that.
Yeah.
Like, how did you get into the space? You're in the single family space. How did you get into the space? Was it, what was the inspiration to get into it? Tell me how that worked.
The inspiration was kind of desperation, I think. Was honestly, I was a pastor before I got into real estate, and I absolutely loved what I did, and so, but I just didn't make very much money,
Sure.
and knew that, like, with the family that we wanted and the lifestyle that we wanted, I needed to make a little bit more money, and then that led to just buying a house to flip, and that didn't go well, but we kept going, and we bought some more houses to flip, and from there it just kind of skyrocketed, man. So it's been a really fun 5 years. I like to say that I'm still a very new real estate investor. We bought our very first house in the fall/winter of 2019. And to date, we've done probably over 500 flips. So
Come on, bro. That's
500
500 flips in the span of 5 years?
Yes, and I should clarify that. When I say 500 flips, I would say probably about half of those have been retail flips where we've fixed it up and listed on the retail market. Probably 60, I know this because we have 65 single-family rental doors. 65 we've flipped to keep as rental properties, and then the rest have been a mixture of wholesales or wholesales.
Yeah.
So probably closer to like 300 actually getting in and doing the work.
Still, I love how you tried to downplay it a little bit.
It's just it's been crazy. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. So you said desperation. So first, backtrack. How old were you when you were a pastor?
I was a pastor, so I went to Colorado Christian University in Denver, Colorado. And then right when I got out of that, I was a missionary in Belize for like 6 months. Didn't love that, which is a different story for a different time. And then got a job at a church out there. And so I was probably 22.
What, at a church out in Belize?
No, sorry, in Denver.
Okay.
I got a church in Denver, yeah. And that was 22 or 23 years old when I got that.
That's awesome, bro.
Yeah, so, and then did that up until my wife and I kind of decided to get into real estate.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to lead into too, is you said desperation. What was that moment of desperation?
That kind of ties into, I was telling you beforehand, like talking about visualization and mindset. And if you want me to go there, I can. Or if you okay, so this is going to be a long story, and but I love sharing it because I think it's kind of powerful for people. At least for me, I like sharing it. It's a fun story for me to share. So hopefully people listening enjoy it.
If not, we'll just cut it out.
Yeah, exactly. If not, perfect. So my wife and I, we lived in Denver, and I made $40,000 a year. And before we had kids, that was completely fine. There was something fun about like the just not having money. Maybe not something fun, but just the challenge and the adventure of being young. And we got married really young and trying to figure it out. And we had a blast doing that. And even things like, hey, we're out of money. I'm going to go drive for Uber. Or I'm going to go. I was getting onto Facebook Marketplace free or Craigslist free, and I was finding couches and going and picking them up and bringing them back to my house and listing them for $50 and trying to make a quick $50 or something like that. And that was really fun. But I always knew, like, this is not really sustainable. And then in 2017, we had our daughter, Riley, and we were talking about her a little bit before. She's amazing. She's incredible. And that's when it kind of really hit me like, hey, this isn't what I want for our life of living paycheck to paycheck. And every time we go to Sprouts or Safeway or King Soopers, wherever it was, I have to check our bank account balance to see if we have the money to swipe a card to pay for it. And I knew that was not what I wanted for our lives. But so something happened when Riley was around a year old, is we gave her peanut butter for the first time, and she went into anaphylactic shock. She was completely fine afterwards, but she, within minutes, had swollen up to like twice her size, wasn't breathing. We threw her in the, dude, it was scary. It was scary. And we threw her in the car and rushed her to the emergency room. And like, obviously on the drive there, when your daughter's not breathing and or struggling to breathe, we're not pulling up our phone, looking at our insurance, saying like, what's in network, what's out of network. And we took her to like a privately owned emergency room or urgent care, 24-hour like urgent care, instead of, I don't know, a normal hospital. And so our insurance didn't cover that. And so ended up taking her there. They put her on IVs and kept her there for the night. And she ended up being completely fine. But about 2 weeks later, we got hit with a $15,000 hospital bill. And we had literally like $400 in our bank account at the time. And so I remember sitting at the dinner table that night, and Lexi had went to bed and Riley was in bed, and I just felt like a massive failure. Because at this time, I think I'm 27, 28 years old, and I've got a kid, and I felt like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing as a husband and a father. And I was like, I don't want to put my family through this. Yeah. And so that was really the moment where I was like, I have to figure something else out. And fast forward a couple of months, and I've started missing house payments and student loan payments because I can't keep up with everything. And it gets really scary for a little bit. But one of the things that I did during that time was like, I'm just going to learn how to make money. And so I started just listening to every podcast on finances and entrepreneurship as possible. And I heard the quote on a podcast. I don't know if it's even true, but it said that 90% of millionaires make that through real estate. And so I was like, I want to be a millionaire. That sounds awesome. And so I started diving into real estate a little bit more. And I started listening to the Bigger Pockets podcast. Yeah. And so I remember like the first time I was listening, I was actually watching it on my computer, and there was a guy named Brandon Turner, and he was sitting in his sea shed in Maui, and he was talking about real estate and how he had used real estate to move to Maui and live and work there. And I was like, that sounds amazing. And back up about a year from when I listened to that podcast, my wife and I, for our baby moon, before Riley was born, we had went to Hawaii. And on the very last night, we were sitting there talking about how cool would it be if someday we lived here and we raised our family here. And we kind of laughed about it because we just looked at real estate prices and we were like, yeah, I make $40,000 a year. That's not going to happen. And so I'm listening to Brandon talk about using real estate to move to Maui, and I'm thinking that's what I want for my life. And so literally, I get Grant Cardone's 10X planner. I don't know if you've ever seen that or did that before, and it has you write down your goals twice a day, right? Is it twice a day?
Twice a day.
And the number one goal on there was live in Hawaii, live in Hawaii, live in Hawaii. And so for the next 3 years, I'm writing that down every single morning. And so anyway, my wife and I, we after listening to that, I decided, hey, I'm going to leave the church and I'm going to get into real estate. And we bought our very first property in the fall of 2019. It was a flip house. In between that time, we had another daughter, Callie, and we ended up doing everything wrong on the flip. We actually had to move in there with a 1.5-year-old, 2-month-old, and a dog, and we slept on an air mattress, and we did a lot of the work ourselves because I had bought it so terribly. And we got done with that and did not make money, but we were like, we can do this. We figured it out. So we started doing a little bit more and a little bit more. And then by March of 2020, we were doing 5 or 6 deals a month. And it just kind of skyrocketed from there. And every single day I was still writing down, I want to live in Hawaii. And then because of just real estate and what it was doing for us, and we got invited to come out here to a a mastermind, the Maui Mastermind, I think is what it was called. And so we came out to the Maui Mastermind in 2021, and this is where the story kind of gets really fun. Is the very first night we had a get together at Brandon's house, because Brandon was hosting this mastermind. We had a get together at Brandon's house, which was so cool to get to go see, like, hey, I listened to you in the Sea Shed, and heard you talk about this house, and being here is a ton of fun. And so we have this get together at Brandon's house, and then the next morning we start the mastermind. And do you know a guy named Rich Fecky?
I don't.
You don't? So Rich Fecky, he's an amazing real estate investor, but he started the mastermind off with kind of leading us through this visualization exercise. And this was in 2021. And it was, at the time, it was kind of weird. And I was like, this is weird. Where he's like, imagine that close your eyes, imagine that you're flying on a light up into the universe, and you intersect with another light, and it comes down, and you land on the world 5 years in the future. And then he wanted you to be very specific about what you were seeing. He was like, look around you. There's a house in front of you. Notice what the yard looks like. Notice the cars in the driveway. Notice the landscaping. And you realize that that's your house. And you walk up and you knock on the door and somebody answers it. And you realize that's you in 5 years. And look around the house, and what does it look like? What does it smell like? What's your tone like? And he took us through this exercise, and he had us be really, really like descriptive in what we were imagining. And what was funny about that is I'd always wanted to live in Hawaii. And the night before, I was at Brandon's house, which was this beautiful house. And so in that visualization, I imagined Brandon's house. Like everything matched up. It's got this incredible view of the ocean. It has a pool. It has ohana. It's got a backyard. I visualized that. And then afterwards, I went and I journaled about it. And then starting then in 2021, something I did every single morning, and I still do this day, is I would go and have coffee with the 5-year version of my future self. And every single morning I would go walk up to the house that I visualized, which was Brandon's house, and I would knock on the door, and the 5-year future me would answer the door, and we'd have a conversation. And I think it's so important for everybody to do, because not only did it align me with like, hey, this is where I'm headed, because I think if you don't have a direction with where you're headed, you're just going to wander around aimlessly.
Absolutely.
And so I knew where I was headed, but also like when I'm envisioning the future me, it's somebody who loves his wife. It's somebody who loves his kids. It's somebody who is giving, who's happy, who's generous, who's not stressed. And so then that aligns my day with like everything that I do is through that lens. Is like, is this being more loving towards my life? Is this getting me to that house in Maui? Is this like making me love my kids more? Is this, helping me achieve my fitness goals for the future me? So it helps align my life.
Totally.
So starting in 2021, I was envisioning that, and I was going and having coffee with myself every morning. And again, I still do that to this day. Ton of fun. And our real estate, it's working for us. In 2020 and 2021 were incredible years for anybody that was in real estate.
Sure.
Really great for us. Even 2022, actually every year except the last 3 months have been really great for us. But so we started making a lot of money. And I remember I was meeting with a friend, and they were asking me about like the goals, and I was telling them like one of us was to live in Hawaii, and he was like, so how much money have you made over the last couple of years? And I told him, and he was like, how much equity do you have in your? And I told him, he's like, so why aren't you in Maui yet? And it's like, you're right. Like this has been my dream, and my kids are young. Let's go do it. And so in January 1st of 2023, we moved out here to Maui. And it was so cool because it was something that I had literally visualized and wrote down every day for the last 900 days. And we did it. And so we moved out here to Maui. But another fun part of the story is you move ahead 2 years, and I'm still, we rented here when we moved here, and I'm still looking for a house. And still having coffee with myself and at Brandon's house, and we just bought Brandon's house.
You
last
did?
week. Yeah. So
Come on,
like,
bro.
It's such a fun story for me.
You bought it when?
I bought it literally. We closed on it last week. Yeah.
Bro,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah. So it's incredible. It's a mind-blowing story of like hey, literally, I visualize this. Like I'm religious, and so like the term manifest is weird, but I manifested this. Like literally, I mean, even the Bible says the Lord gives you the desires of your heart, and like literally every single morning, I was sitting there and I was having coffee with myself in Brandon's house is since 2021, and fast forward 4 years, and I own that house.
That's
now.
so
And
sick, bro.
So yeah, it's a really fun story for me.
Yeah.
And so sorry, that was a long story.
No, it's a great story, bro. That's that is awesome. There's so many takeaways from that, man. And one of the takeaways is I love how like specific he made you get during the visualization.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff's not weird to me. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I love that stuff because I believe that, like, you think about your kids, if they wanted something, they needed to be able to describe what they want so you know what to get them.
Yeah.
That's how I believe God is. My relationship with my kids, or becoming a dad, has really changed my relationship with God because I see it from a whole different perspective, just a whole different perspective. And the more clear that you get, I always say, like, when the target is clear, success is near. So it's like the more clear you can get.
Yeah.
And it's a compelling future, bro. Like, if you can create a compelling future, life has so much meaning and purpose. And bro, so my goal to move to Maui, our goal actually wasn't to move to Maui to live here, because that even was like seemed too much.
Yeah.
It was, we wanted to spend a year of unobstructed time with kids before they got to school. And so Brittany, we made a deal. We had my little girl Marley, and I hated the place we were living in. Like, I can't really describe it, but like, I'm a big energy guy, and I did not like the spot.
Yeah.
We were also renting. And so like 2 weeks after, maybe even a week after we had Marley, I like found a spot and I was like, we're moving.
Dude.
Like, I literally I like went and like toured the house, everything, didn't even tell her, because I knew she does not want to do that. So we made a goal. She's like, we made a deal. Okay, we'll move there, but in 2 years, it's a 2-year lease. In 2 years, we're moving to Maui. And I'm like, okay. Done. Easy. But I'm like, I'm not thinking that's. I am like in the apartment space of that game. Like or apartment game at that time, but still new and still trying to build it and all that. Well, one time I'm speaking, because then I started working with a guy named Dave Lindahl, and I was speaking at one of his events, like not the main speaker, but I was speaking, and somebody asked me like one of my goals, and I said, yeah, we're gonna move to Maui. And I said it. It was the first time that I'd said it vocally out loud, and I was like, oh dang, now I have to do it, because I don't want to be a liar. And so I started any event anywhere that I'd go, I'd start telling people, we're gonna move to Maui before the kids get into school. We're gonna move to Maui, and then we moved to Maui before the kids got into school,
dude.
And we'll never leave, bro. Like,
I love that. Yeah. Well, and another really fun part of this story. And when's this podcast gonna air? Because
good question.
Are they pretty quick, or are they?
Usually a few weeks. Usually a few weeks out.
A few weeks out.
Yeah.
All right, I'll tell. My wife's gonna hate me for this, because But so in that visualization, one of the things that I remember so clearly, because he was taking you through, like, look at the house, like, what does it look like? What does it feel like? And I remember, for me, it was not a clean house. It was a very messy house, but like a lovingly messy house, where it's like this is a lived-in house where family does life together. And at the time, we had 3 kids in 2021 when I visualized, but there was more kids in that visualization. And my wife is pregnant now too. And so like just everything from that is coming true. And it's mind-boggling to be like, how did that happen? Because it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense unless, what I believe is God had a huge hand in it. But it does not make sense at all. And so it's really fun. And one of the things that I think is important, and sorry, we talking a lot, and it's not real estate, but I could talk about this stuff all day. But one of the things that happened to us, and it was like I'd been writing down, we're going to live in Maui every single day. That made me decide, like, hey, we're going to do this. Was in 2022, my family, I was driving, we got hit by a drunk driver going about 60 miles an hour. And fortunately, we were completely fine. What's crazy is I literally, a couple weeks before, I had traded up from a 2014 Toyota Corolla to a 2022 Ford Expedition, and so we got hit. He rear-ended us at a stop sign, and I remember like afterwards, I was actually really struggling with that because I was thinking like, what if I hadn't have just bought a $85,000 car that's a tank? Like, what if I was driving that Toyota Corolla with our 3 kids in the back seat? And I was talking to a mentor of mine. I went to a counselor. I went to a counselor. I was like, I was having like anxiety around it. Yeah. And one of the things the counselor kind of did with me was, I've never had a counselor do this, or he was like, okay, let's talk about like worst case scenarios. Like what if you were, and what if something did happen to one of your kids? And like, I'm starting to like process through all these honestly terrible things. And he's like, how would you want to be living today? Like if you knew that X, Y, and Z was going to happen, like how would you want to be living today? And one of the things that my wife and I talked about is like, we are rich. Like we've made a lot of money, and I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it was the reality. We've made a lot of money. We have really great active income and passive income. So why are we putting off this dream that we've had to do with our family? And so that was one of the reasons that we moved out here.
I love it, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, our stories are so similar. I'm dead serious, man. My wife had sent me, I had read an article because I was procrastinating it, bro. I was procrastinating because probably similar, where I saw so many opportunities, and I knew that the whole goal, once again, it wasn't just to move here. We're going to spend unobstructed time with kids, which means I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
Since they're going to retire for a year. And I had so many opportunities coming down the pipeline that it was like, maybe if we wait just a little bit longer, then I'll be even in an even better position. You know, that was the narrative. And then I read this article by Tim Ferriss. Yeah. And it essentially was 7-step checklist overcoming fear. And he said, one of the questions was, if you can look back 5-10 years from now, whatever, and look back and you know for certainty that there's regret, and you can't repair it, you can't get the time back or whatever, then it's a sure, then you have to do it. And I read that, and I was like, I wasn't reading that to like try to talk myself into going to Maui. I literally read that and I was like, oh man, we got to go to Maui. Yeah. Now. And I text Britt. I'm like, let's go. We got to go. This was in March of 2019. And then we literally donated everything that we had, bro. Like TVs, entertainment, everything. And we moved to Maui in June.
Dude, I love that. And the thing is in 50 years, when you're looking back on your life, I can tell, at least for me, even if we had moved to Maui and it didn't work out and our business did really poorly, I would not regret that. Hey, we took a chance, we moved there, we got to be in paradise with our kids, and it didn't work out and we had to move back. Yeah. But in 50 years, if we hadn't done that, I knew that I would regret that. And so, and that's, I mean, it's worked out. It's been amazing.
So tell me this, bro, because it didn't, by the way, it didn't just, it makes tons of sense how it happened. Because like one of the things you mentioned was you visualized this thing, this compelling future. And then in the now, this bigger picture, but in the now, you were asking yourself every day, does this thing help me get here? Does this thing help me be a better dad? Does this thing help me, get to Maui? That's how it happens, right? You create a compelling future, and then you do the things today that leads to the better tomorrow.
And that's why I think, like, for anybody that is listening to this, one of the best pieces of life advice or real estate advice I could give you is create that vision for your future and go have coffee with that person every single morning. Literally, I would sit there and I would talk to them every single morning. And I know that sounds crazy, but then my first actions of the day are always, are these aligned with that person in the future? Like that person, it's a really nice house that I was sitting in. Like he's got to make money somehow. Person, it loves his wife. And so like we get in a fight and I'm forgiving her, or I'm asking for forgiveness. Typically it's me asking for forgiveness, but I'm stressed out and want to snap at my kids. Like that's not what this future version of me would do. I'm peaceful and not stressed. So why am I stressing over this? And so I would say that was literally one of the ways that I was able to scale so fast, was because I had a vision for where I was going. and every single day I woke up and dude, I was pumped too. It wasn't like I got out of bed excited because I knew where I was going. And so it wasn't even hard for me. A lot of people, I mean, it was stressful. There was times, there's ups and downs and times where we feel like we're going bankrupt but every day I knew like the direction that I was headed. And so I was able to overcome all of those relatively easily. Like
the 10X journal, you said how many times? You're like, I think it's two and sometimes three, because what he says is you write it down morning, night, and that third time was when you hit a challenge, a stumbling block. That's the third. So sometimes it's three. But I'll tell you the opposite end of the spectrum, okay? I had this compelling vision for my life, and I knew where I was going. I knew what, same thing. And same thing, like the work wasn't hard anymore. The work wasn't hard because I knew what I was working towards.
Yeah.
This year, bro, and I haven't shared this, I don't think I've even told my wife this, because it's a realization that I really just came to, which is 2024 was it was the hardest year of my life, for sure. And what I realized is that I didn't have a compelling future version. I do this every year where I write a 10, 5, 3-year story. And I write it like I'm in the present tense, like I'm there, like this happened. But I'm writing the story and telling the story as if I'm 10 years down the road. And I didn't do it in 2024. There's so much stuff going on and so many and this year when I went to go do it, I was like, oh my gosh, this year was so challenging. And this whole year I just felt like I was just going through the motions to get through, and I didn't create the compelling version. Yeah. And so that version that you're talking about and creating that story and that narrative and then reciting it and going through it. Listen, you said we're not talking about real estate. We're talking about life.
Yeah.
And no matter what you're doing, you need to know why you're doing it.
Yeah. So. Dude, and I think that's so important. And even just like we've accomplished kind of all of the goals that we set out to 5 years ago. And my wife and I were talking, I'm like, I need to go sit down and come up with what's next.
Yes.
And I haven't done that yet. But I can even feel it in my own life is like, okay, like, we've got the house, we've got the family, we've got the money, everything that we kind of had envisioned for ourselves, and like now I need that what's next for us, like what is that new thing that I can be excited about and run toward at 100 miles an hour, and so I'm excited to create that. I actually I lost it, but rebought Vivid Vision, and I'm gonna read that and kind of create one for myself, the kind of the next version of where we're headed. And so don't know what that looks like yet. I'm
excited to see it, bro. I'm excited to have you share it with me. I'm gonna hold you to it.
All right, I'll do that.
Okay, we're gonna get into some tactical real estate stuff, but I have one more question, because question, this is actually, if you go look at the date that I sent you a message of like, hey man, I want you on the pod, was the date that I saw this post. Tell me about, and this, I was like, I want to talk to this dude, because it's in line with what I believe and what I just cherish, right? Tell me about Palmy Drives. Yes. Palmy Drives. Okay, I wasn't sure how you pronounced it, but Palmy Drives. Tell me about Palmy Drives and how, I don't know if you remember that post, but I remember that post.
Yes.
And it was a write-up. It was a carousel, and you dropped Riley off at school.
Yes.
Tell me about what happened at school, what happened with Palmy Drives, your thought behind it, and how has it changed? I don't know, priorities.
So this so a while back, but
September.
One of the things that I
know your post better than you do, bro.
One of the things that I always love to do is I give Riley and Callie big hugs and kisses. We're hugs and kisses family, and so I love it. They're my kids. They're my favorite. They are my favorite thing in the world. And dropped Riley off at school, and she kind of like was acting a little shy, and she's like, "Daddy, come here." And so she took me away from her friends and then gave me the big hug and the big kiss. And I remember, and I will try not to cry as I talk about this, but I got in my car and I was really, really sad. And I wasn't sad. I completely understand. Like, as I got older, I didn't want my parents to show me physical affection either. I completely understand that. What I got so sad about was, like, our kids grow up. Our kids grow up. And that is the most beautiful thing in the world, but it's also one of the saddest things in the world. because I know that my kids are going to grow up and to be amazing human beings. And so I'm really excited for it, and it's going to be a beautiful journey, but it's also really sad because I love my kids how they are. And so I was just sitting in the car, and I was thinking about that, and thinking about like our kids every single day are getting older, and the things that we're doing with them today, it could be our last time. And it got me to thinking about something that we do that's called Palmy Drives. And the reason they're called Palmy Drives was because it was a pile drive where essentially, since Riley's literally been about a year and a half, every single day, every single morning, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I did that. Every single day, every single morning, or every single night, every single morning, she asks for Palmy Drives. And it started when she was young, where I'd just pick her up and I'd slam her on a couch or a bed, and I'd tickle her and I'd kiss her. And that's just become a thing, like literally 10 times a day. Daddy, can I have a Palmy Drive? Daddy, can I have a Palmy Drive? Daddy, can I have a Palmy Drive? And it still is going on to this day. And I remember sitting in my car just thinking, like, there is going to come a day really soon where where she asked me for a Palmy Drive, and then she never will again. Yeah, I'll cry talking about it.
Wait till I tell you why it resonated with me and why I feel like I'm about to cry too.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you though.
We can cry. I mean, it's so, but literally I was like, there will come a day, when I'll never give her a Palmy Drive again. And it really made me think about, like, why do I give up time with my family today to go make money? I think how I worded, and I'm trying to think how I worded it, but I said the words in that post where it's like,
I would give up 5-10 years down the road, 50, whatever it was. I'm going to look back at this, and I would give up any amount of monetary wealth to go back to that moment and give a Palmy Drive.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. Where it's like, I promise you, when I'm 55 years old and Riley's 25 or 30, however old she is, I would give up millions of dollars to go back to her as a 5-year-old and pick her up and slam her on the bed and tickle her and tell her that I love her and kiss her. And so, like, I can do that today for free.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing, is like, I can do that today for free. And I am proud to say that I live most of my life like that, where I take advantage of every single moment that I can with my kids. And I take advantage of every single moment that I can with my wife, because I know that it's not going to last forever. And hopefully there's another beautiful iteration of it down the road. And I believe there will be. Yeah. But the things that we can do today for free are things that we would pay any amount of money for in the future to go back and do.
That's
and
so. So let me tell you why it resonated with me so much. Because that day, and I remember it because it's weird, like, when moments like this happen, but it was, and I know it was September because it's my wife's birthday.
Yeah.
And right after my wife's birthday. And we were at the pool. And once again, 2024 has been challenging, bro.
Yeah.
And we were at the pool, and what my kids love, we love to wrestle too.
Yeah.
But when we're at the pool, they love me to just throw them. We call them twister whisters. Well, I'll throw them and I'll twist them, you know. And we were at the pool, and I usually do twister whisters, but I was in my phone dealing with just shit, you know. And I said no. And that night I freaking ready to post. So just, you don't know, like, the things that, it's weird because you don't really know what posts are going to resonate for whatever reason with whatever person to make a difference. But bro, it made a difference to me because it just was the reminder at that moment, at that time, of like, bro, there's nothing that I cherish more than my kids. Like,
yeah.
And I'm a great dad. I'm a great husband. But I also take care of a lot of investors. I take care of a whole, dude, hundreds of employees and a big network of students. And it's like, that balance can be a little bit challenging.
Yeah.
Blessing. Huge blessing.
Yes.
But a challenge. And it was just this reminder in that exact moment of, like, nothing matters more than that. Like, you kidding me? Pretty soon they're going to be too big, and you're going to be too weak. You can't even give them, twister whisters. Like, go.
Yeah.
So it was awesome.
Dude, that means a lot. Thank you for that. And I'm glad that it resonated because it's something I think about every day. Like our kids still come up and get in bed with us, and some nights it sucks, and I'm like, I wish that we were more strict about this. But other nights I'm like, there's going to be a last time. There's going to be a last time, and they will never come get in bed with us again. And I want to cherish every single moment. And so, and I've gotten to a point where like I do not care. I don't care what other people say about me. I don't care about what, like, my family is my priority, first and foremost. And I think that I think that you can still, that can be really cohesive with building a business and owning a business, but, and it makes me a better business owner. It makes me a better entrepreneur, but my family is my priority, 100 times out of 100.
Yeah.
So,
well, here's what it does. Like, I even look at this year. This year has made me such a better business owner because when things get tight, when challenges happen, like, you have to look at everything. Mm-hmm. When everything's just coasting, you don't have to be as, into it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make a lot of more mistakes. But when the margin of error is very minimal, you get super creative with how you can run your business, and how you can structure, and how you get more efficient, and how you can. Dude, I've learned more about business the past couple of years than last year for sure, than all the other years combined. So it makes you better. So if you have a priority and you have this standard of like, no, family is a priority, period, no matter what, you're going to get creative to make sure that you run a business and operate a business that is cohesive to that.
Yeah.
Period.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So
it's powerful.
Dude, I love that.
So now let's talk about, let's reverse it a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
And back into like your expertise. You have done, my gosh. So how many single family, you do long-term rentals.
Long-term rentals, yeah.
And you have 60 something?
Yes, we have 65. It's probably depending on the day, it's either a 15 or 17, $18 million portfolio, just depending on
valuations.
Yeah, exactly. So
sweet.
So and my wife and I, we own that ourselves. And we've gotten really fortunate because we bought a lot of those in 2020, 2021. So they've gone up quite a bit in value. And we're probably, we've bird all of those. And so,
So how did you source them? Because your expertise is acquisitions.
Yes.
And I watched, I think it was a podcast, or I can't remember, Brett, but you talked about the come up, I don't even call it the come up, but the come up of like how you learned acquisitions and what that process looked like. And it was the opposite of what we just talked about. It is, you're grinding.
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
Yes. So, I did work a lot, but part of that was I had that future
100%
vision of like, this is what I want for my family. And I knew that I had to work hard, but when I started, I did not do direct to seller marketing. My bread and butter was what I call connector leads. And now like in our business, we have connector leads and we have marketing leads. But what I became excellent at was finding off-market leads from wholesalers. And I know everybody knows wholesalers and knows what wholesalers are for the most part. And a lot of people say wholesalers, they don't send you good deals. And they're right for the most part. But when you are very intentional about how you build relationships, you still get really great deals sent to you from wholesalers. Because if they know, like, and trust you, they're gonna send you a deal first, and those numbers can pencil. When they blast it out on Facebook or via email, it's probably not a deal anymore. But if you can build a relationship, like, you can find deals with real estate agents. Same thing. I built relationships with every real estate agent, not everyone, but a lot of real estate agents in St. Louis. I've built relationships with all the property management companies, the senior living facilities, the probate attorneys, junk removal companies, mold remediation companies. And I position myself as, hey, if anybody you come across like has a deal that with especially mold remediation and junk removal companies that has a house that they want to sell because it's either distressed, they want to get out of it, X, Y, or Z, like I would love to be that buyer. But where I was going with that was what I focused on was building relationships. That's what I'm good at too. And so it wasn't hard for me, where I would go to the local meetup and I'd be the first one there and the last one to leave, and I would shake as many hands as I could, and I'd have as many great conversations as I could. And then the next morning I would take out the business cards and I'd call through every single one of them, and I'd set up a coffee meeting, and I'd sit down with them, and I'd get to learn their story and learn about their life and learn about their kids and what made them excited, and really just like I say, part of it is like I like to think I was a good like just being a good person and like literally valuing people and who they are and what's going on in their life. And if business works its way into it, great. A lot of times it did. That's how I bought so many houses. But I really just loved people and loved hanging out with people and getting to know people and getting to know their stories. And so that's what I did for the first couple years. Man, I was just solely focused on connector leads, and I was buying over 100 houses a year from wholesalers, real estate agents, property management companies, senior living facilities, all of the above. They were just sending me leads, and a lot of those we bought.
And a lot of those you bought.
Yeah,
love it.
So
you were putting in the work.
Yes, it was a lot. So
Sure.
I would say 3 nights a week I was going to local meetups, and then I would spend my days going and walking houses or having meetings with people, one-on-ones, just getting to know them. I would typically I'd come home, and I'd always try and be home by around 5, and then 5 to 8 I'd hang out with the family, and then we put the kids to bed, and then from 8 till 1 in the morning I'm running numbers on the houses that I walked that day to send out offers the next morning. And so it was a lot of work. And I think that's something that I want to make clear to every single person that's listening to this, is when you hear 100 houses, I don't think people realize the amount of work that you have to put in.
Yeah,
I'm in my car. I know this because of that. I bought that new car, and I put 65,000 miles on it in a year. Just driving from house to house to house and walking houses. And this was before we had really built our team, where now, I've got acquisition managers that are doing that for me. But the beginning, it was just me. Honestly, for the first 3 years, it was just me.
Yep.
So,
but I want people to hear that because, and I actually love the journey that this podcast is going, because you start with such a beautiful story, bro, and visualizing these things. And then it helps people understand, like, it's hard. Well, first off, it's possible.
Yeah.
But then you reverse, and it's like, it's possible because you put in the work. And it's like, there is a growth period. There is a period where you got to put in the work. But what I also loved is that you said from 5 to 8 was family time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once again, you can grind and still.
I think I did. I always did a good job of still being very invested in my family's life.
Yeah.
That I would say during that phase of life, I was grinding harder than I am now. And I might need to, once I come up with that new vision, that might change really quick. But that was fun to me. And again, I think it made me come more like it made me a better father in those times that I was with my family on the weekends, and because I was so excited about life. Where, some people, they come home from work at 4 and they hate their W-2 job, and they're not excited about life, and they're on their phone and they're watching TV, and they might be with their kids, but are they really? No.
Yes.
And for me, I was like, I'm just jazzed on life, man. And so, like, getting to be with my kids after work, like, I had a blast with them, and we'd go to the park and we'd go on walks and get on weekends. Like, we're having a blast because I'm just excited about life.
Yes. Oh my God. I can relate to it so much, bro.
Yeah.
When I started in the apartment game, like, I just remember Britt was working at the hospital. She's a PA. And so she would work at the hospital. Sometimes she would work. Well, I felt like we were just passing in the night, bro.
Yeah.
We were passing the night. We had, people that helped with daycare, and especially because I would travel sometimes, and, it was challenging, bro. But I look at those years, and oh my gosh, I cherish those years, because exactly what you just said. I had this all of a sudden, like, oh my gosh, I know how to make this life possible. Like, I don't have it yet, but I know how to make it possible. Like, I had a vehicle, because before that I didn't know how to make it possible.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I see it, and it's like the energy that comes from that is crazy, bro.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
And I think everybody should find that thing, whatever that is. Going back to that future vision of yourself, because when you can wake up in the morning and get out of bed and be like stoked about life, it changes everything. Even in the hard times, like like I was saying, we've had a lot of hard times. I think we've lost money on houses before. I think some of our hardest times where we tried to save as much money as we could, and so we wouldn't use private money or hard money, and we'd use our own money, and then we'd run out of money, and we've already used our own money to buy properties, and we're sitting there and like, hey, we've got $100,000 in expenses to come up with, and we don't have any money in our bank account, and like but for me, because I knew where we were going, I'm like, this is fun. Like, this is a challenge. Like, now I get to work on raising money. I get to figure this out, and I got to figure this out. And so, it was just exciting, man. Yeah. I get excited just talking about it. It was so much fun.
Exactly. I would get off calls with brokers. I remember, because it's similar within my space. Like if and you probably know this, but like if a deal goes to market, right, and they just blasted everybody, like you said, could you still make a deal like that work? Sure, but if you can get an off-market pocket listing directly from the broker, those are your best. I mean, those are your best deals, or directly from the seller. So, but I would be talking to a broker. These are important relationships. I'd be talking to a seller, important relationships, and I'm brand new for the most part. Yeah. And I'm having these conversations, and I would look so dumb, and I know I'm looking dumb. Like, I'll never forget talking to an investor, and he asked me about what the EBITDA was. I didn't know what EBITDA meant. I literally thought he was mumbling. Like, I had no clue. I have to talk to him, and it's earnings before income, depreciation, and taxes. Like, I know what it is now, but I didn't then. And I just remember hanging up and literally just laughing. And that, before that, would have like floored me. I'd be like, what am I doing? I don't belong here. I can't do this. Like, what am I even thinking? But then I already knew. I'd convinced myself I did it, that I was going to do it. And so I would just laugh about it, dude. I just found joy on the journey. Like, okay, I know how to. Well, I know what EBITDA is now. Yeah. Awesome. And now it's just a journey of growth,
Dude, I love it. Well, one of the reasons that I was able to excel, and actually this has been told to me a couple times recently, but this was 5 years ago when I got into real estate. There was a mentor of mine. His name was Brian Schroeder. He's still alive. He's such a phenomenal human being. And he had hundreds of single family houses in St. Louis and had a flipping company and kind of took me under his wing a little bit. But I was very much like you when I first started. Like, I didn't know what a wholesaler was. When people talked about like, LTV, DTI, DSCR loans, any of those acronyms, I would just smile and nod my head. Like I knew what they were talking about.
Sure.
Or running an ARV on a house. Like, I didn't know any of that. But I was so excited about like, hey, this is where we're headed with our life and with our family. And so I was meeting as many people as I could. And Brian kind of took me under his wing. And one of the reasons he said, like, you had an energy about you that was unmatched. Like, like I knew that you were going to be successful from the day I met you, not because of how smart you were or how charismatic or X, Y, or Z, but because you had a energy that I've never seen before in anybody. And that meant a lot to me.
100%.
And I think that attracted, like, your energy attracts people.
Yes.
And it did. And people wanted to do business with me. And a lot of times people wanted to do business with me, even though they could have blasted it, or they could have taken it to another person and made more money, but they were like, we want to work with Cameron.
Yep. So, I love it, bro. Yeah. And I think that's so powerful for everyone to recognize, because in the beginning, I know this, bro. My company's Multifamily Mindset. I'm so big on mindset. That's like when I truly like started to wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
My whole life took off. Like, literally my whole life just went on a hockey curve up. And so I talk about it all the time, and I see some people like, oh my gosh. But here's the thing. It creates an energy.
Yeah.
When you have a compelling future, when you have these things that you visualize, when you know what you're working towards, it creates an energy. Sometimes you're out there trying to build relationships. You don't even understand why somebody's not wanting to do business with you. It's because you don't know why they should do business with you.
Yeah.
You don't know even if you're still going to be committed to the business. You're half in, and they don't even know why they don't want to do business with you, but they feel something. And then all of a sudden there's this change, and you don't understand why so many people want to do business with you, but it's because you know that this is the business you're doing. It's energy, man. Energy, success takes energy, and energy is a real thing.
Oh, for sure. Yes. Yeah. And it has, in having that energy and that, I think that love for other people has completely changed our business. So like going back to just some strategies that I use, and this wasn't done out of a strategic thinking in my part of like, oh, I'm going to do this for this person and they're going to, repay it. But like I was really great at, and this partly is the energy and just like caring about other people, but I was really good at taking care of other people. Like I remember one wholesaler that I bought like 20 something houses from in 2022, and made probably $500,000 from, maybe not that much, but a lot. In 2021, I hadn't bought a house from him yet, and we were out getting coffee, and he pulled out his computer, and it was like one of those thick, like old MacBooks that weigh 50 pounds. And I went out that day and I bought him a new computer, and I dropped it off at his house, and I was like, hey man, cause he was talking crap on his computer as he was trying to get it booted up. And so I was like, hey man, I bought you a new computer. Just want to tell you I appreciate you. And then the next year, every single house he got, he sent to me. One of the best wholesale deals I've ever gotten in my life. It was a 70 unit portfolio. It was a property management company. I was calling all of them saying, hey, do you have any clients that are trying to offload their portfolios? And there was a lady that I was talking to, and she started telling me how she plays women's softball on Tuesday nights, and then afterwards senior women's softball on Tuesday nights, and afterwards they all go to Applebee's and get dinner and margaritas. And so the next day was Tuesday, and so I went to Applebee's and I got her a $25 gift card, and then I went by her office and I was like, hey, I really appreciate our call yesterday. I wanted to buy your dinner tonight. Gave it to her. A week later, she sends me this portfolio that I was able to wholesale and make close to 6 figures on. And so like I think like there's when people say there aren't deals out there, it's definitely harder. I'm not going to disagree with you that it's harder, but it's also I don't think that you're putting in you might be putting in the work, but it might not be the right work. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to think outside of the box, and I was really good at that.
Yeah.
So
very much.
Yeah.
I can tell you're very good at that.
Yeah.
And that comes from when you're in the grind, when you're in the weeds. Sometimes it is challenging to get above them to see like what's a different approach.
Yeah. Well, and I would say like that's like full disclosure. That's kind of where I am right now, where. With our business now, we've scaled to where we've got 15 employees or so, and on our flipping business, and we have a couple in our property management side of things, and then I've got an education platform that we probably have 20 employees in, and I'm so in the weeds in those. I was telling my wife actually literally this morning, like I want to be bored again, and not bored in the sense that I want to sit around and be on my phone, but I want to be bored because I think that's when innovation happens. And I haven't allowed myself to be bored. Part of it is our 2024 was rough as well. So I'm right there with you, where 2024 was not our best year ever. And so because of that, I had to step back in and help run things and be more on top of things. And I haven't gotten to exercise that creativity and innovation side of my brain to like think outside of the box, and how can we do things better, and how can we do things bigger, because I've just been so in the weeds.
Yes.
And so I want to work towards that in 2025.
Yeah, that's a good intention.
To be bored, I guess, so I can flex those innovation and creativity muscles.
That's the same thing though. That's exactly same thing for me with 2024. I pride myself on being a visionary. Like I'm a strategic visionary leader. For 2024, I was an operator, very much so. Mm-hmm. And so, I was just having a conversation with my sales team, and they're like, we're doing everything. We're like literally doing everything we can. I was like, but you're not, because you're not producing the result. Yeah. And in the reality is, if you were, you'd produce the result. So what if we, instead of convincing ourselves that you're doing everything, and I'm saying this not to my sales team now, I'm saying this to everyone listening, you're not doing everything. You might be doing, like you said, the work, but you're not doing the best work or the right work. So if you could just step back for a second and be like, okay, what am I not doing? We had Goggins at our event, and he's like an intimidating, but he's the nicest dude. Mm-hmm. He's total stud. And how he takes questions from the group, I was so impressed, man. He's a stud. And there's a girl in our program, her name's Bree. Amazing. Like she's my favorite, dude. She's
Yeah.
the best of the best. And she's telling him all these things that she's been doing. And then he asked her, but what haven't you done? And she's like,
Dude, that's a great question.
It was a phenomenal question.
Yeah. When you say that, I think through like, there's some things with my sales team that we're doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, like putting out offers and walking houses. But one of the things that I was trying to communicate with them, that I think ties in with this was like, this has been a couple weeks ago, but I bought a house and it was a wholesale, and it was a $40,000 wholesale. And they were like, how did you get that? Because it's so hard to find deals right now. And I was like, I called a guy to congratulate him on getting married. And literally that was the only, he's a wholesaler, but I just wanted to tell him he had just got married. Dude, I'm so pumped for you. Like, how was the wedding? How was the honeymoon? And at the end of the conversation, he said, hey, I just got this great deal. And like, those are the things that I think that, like, when you ask, what are you not doing? Those are the things that I have always almost intuitively done, where it's like, I wasn't trying to get a deal out of it. I was literally just calling him to tell him that I care about him and congratulations on getting married. And it turned into a deal.
Yeah.
And so I think you just have to think outside of the box, and it kind of goes back to like, you just got to love people.
Yeah.
Like, you just got to love and care about people, and it'll come back.
Yes.
So,
dude, I love that. That's such a great example. Such a great example. It's that, and if you would have been calling him with that intention, with the underlying motive of, they feel that. People feel
exactly.
it.
Yeah. It's like, hey, you got a deal for me? Nope. Cool. Call you in 2 more weeks. And that doesn't convey like the authenticity and the relational aspect of what I want to convey as a person and as a company.
Totally. Our motto is positivity, love, service, value. So, and love is, I have one tattoo, and the tattoo says love one another. Right.
Yeah, that's amazing. By the way, your executive assistant or
Nico.
admin, was she the one that was emailing me? Her emails just made my day better. Just reading those emails, I was like, my day is so much better.
The
now.
best, huh?
Yes.
That is who she is, bro.
Yeah.
To her core, that is who, like when I first, read the emails or communication, when I was even in like the interview process, I was like, is this real? No, that's who she is. By the way, that's Strat's wife.
Oh, is that your wife?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, reading her emails just made my day so much
best,
better.
dude.
I just had a smile on my face afterwards. Like, that's amazing.
Yes, that's who she is, man. She embodies that.
That's so cool.
But this has been a masterclass, bro, on relationships and just purpose-driven vision, like creating a truly the life that you, by design,
Dude, yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me, man.
Bro,
It's been a
thank
blast.
you
I
for
know I
having.
could talk
This
for a
went
long time.
it definitely went a different direction than I was.
I am sorry. I didn't
No
talk
sorries.
about
I think it's so
real estate
powerful,
a
bro.
lot, but-
No. What we talked about is literally how you build your real estate portfolio, though. The relationship side at the end, massive, but everything that happens by having all the things you talked about in the beginning, bro. This is one of my favorite interviews that I've done in a long time.
Awesome.
And I don't know if I've ever got a little teary-eyed during an interview.
Dude.
But bro, I'm telling you, go look at your messages. I'm telling you that had to have been probably the day after you posted that as the day that I messaged you, because had an impact, brother. So appreciate you, your leadership, everything that you're doing. He's a host of the Better Life podcast with Brandon Turner now too. Full circle moment as well.
Listening to the podcast, I forgot to add that, but that's also a part of it.
So sick, bro.
Yeah.
Your journey is inspiring. I love that you're here. Now we've got to connect even more, man.
Yes, I would love that. So
Sweet.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome so much. Everybody else out there, man, go follow Cam. Go digest every bit of content that he has, and then go build relationships, provide value, and live always with aloha. Peace.